So you want to learn how to create these type of energy hit effects from scratch without any third-party plugins or any preset packs, then stick around because I'm about to break it down step by step in this tutorial. I'm sure you've seen this type of hit transitions in a lot of music videos before. They're actually pretty easy to make, and I'll show you how you can create your own versions of these effects and also save them as presets. So stick around and let's get right into this tutorial. So I'm in After Effects right now, and I got these two clips from this EVK Jabo music video, and oh, it's actually the same scene, so I'll just switch it real quick. So just like that, now I got two different scenes. First one right here is where I'll be creating a zoom out hit, and then here at the end I can create a zoom in hit. So the zoom out hit is the type of hit effects that you want to use at the start of your clip. So it starts with a zoom out, so I created a new adjustment layer on top of this. To do that, you either click Ctrl Alt Y, or just right click, go to new and create a new adjustment layer. And then I'll be applying a transform effect onto this adjustment layer, and then just zoom in the scale to like 160 or 180, and then keyframe the scale. And then I'm gonna click U on my keyboard so I can see my keyframes and go back 8 frames, and here I'm gonna reset everything. So basically just turn the scale back to normal. And then while you're here at the 8th frame, you can also keyframe the position. So here everything should go back to normal, and here all of the effects will be applied. So for the first frame, I'll just move the position a little bit out so I can see this little point, and then I'm gonna grab it. Then I'm gonna just move it up to the right from the center, but not too far away from the center. So just a little bit something like this. Yo, sorry to interrupt. I just want to let you guys know that I just dropped a new version of my VFX Kit plugin with over 150 effects that you can preview and simply apply with one click. And this version of the plugin doesn't require any third-party plugins. And we also have a launch sale going on, so it's $40 off. So make sure to go and grab it before the sale is over. But let's get back to the video. And then I'm gonna go in 2 frames, so 1 and 2, and then for the next frame here I'll move it like to the other side and a little bit down, so we can create this kind of illusion so it looks like a camera is actually shaking. And then I'll go in 2 frames once again, and this time we can move it, let's do up like right here, and then 2 frames once again, we can move it down here, and then the last one will go back. Then all that's left to do is just select the motion blur, and then we'll play through and see what it looks like. It's cool, but it's just a little bit generic in my opinion, so I'll turn up the scale a little bit more to 200, and then I'll ease those keyframes as well just to make it look a little bit less generic. And then I'm gonna tweak some of the position keyframes, like this one I'll move it a little bit down, and this one we can move it a little bit closer to the center, just like that. Now it looks a little bit better. Only thing that messes up is this part right here where we can see the black bar right there. And to get rid of that, I'll apply a motion blur effect. I mean a motion tile effect. And we just gotta drag up the output width and height to like 300 and check mirror edges. And now it's gone. And of course, put it on top of the transform effect as well. And if you want to spice up this effect a little bit more, you can add on an exposure effect. And I'll turn up the exposure to like 2.5 for the first frame. And then keyframe that. And then go 2 frames in, drag it down to 0, go 2 frames in, drag it up to like, then I'm gonna go 2 frames in, drag it down to 0, 1 frame in, drag it up to 1, and then 1 frame in once again, drag it down to 0. So now I have this tiny flash going on as well. Nothing too crazy, and still a pretty basic effect. And if you wanted to have a little bit more energy and look just less boring, then what you can do is move this point further away from the middle. So this one right here, I'm gonna move all the way up there. And the next frame, I'm gonna move it a little bit more out. Next frame, we can move it up a little bit more. And then final frame here, can drag it down a little bit more. And what this does is it just puts like more space between where the zoom is going. So it just gives us a lot more energy. That's a clean zoom out. We get a lot more energy from that. And then for the end right here, for the zoom in, I'll be creating a new adjustment layer. And then I'll be applying the transform effect once again, and we can keyframe the scale and the position from here. We have 8 frames right here from the start to the end, and we can go with that. It doesn't really matter too much. Now what I'm gonna do is basically the same thing, so I'll head right up to the end right here, and I'll be dragging up the scale to 200, and then we can cut the adjustment layer right there. So I'll jump 2 frames in, and then we're gonna move the position just out to somewhere around here. Or actually we don't want to do the same thing, so we'll move it to the opposite side this time. I'm gonna move it down for the first one like here, and then 2 frames in once again I'll move it up right there, 2 frames in, move it right here, and then for the final frame right here, we can move it like all the way down there. And motion blur is also turned on, so what we have right now is this. I'll actually hide the other zoom out right here at the start and just show the end. That's cool, maybe a little bit too short. You can drag it out a little bit more if you want to by just simply dragging out the adjustment layer and make the start right here, and then the end of the scale will drag it out all the way there, and then just make it a little bit longer. So just add on another movement all the way here at the end, so it will look like this. Yeah, that's a lot better. Then I'm gonna copy the exposure from the last hit and just paste it on here because it doesn't really matter. Only thing we got to do is select the keyframes, right click, keyframe assistant, and time reverse keyframes so it lines up correctly. And that's about it for this effect. We can actually make the flashes a little bit brighter as well. Turn it up to like 3.5, something like that. And now to drop some sauce, if you want to make it look a little bit better, match the zoom ins with the zoom outs, so it will look like this. It just looks a lot better compared to if you would just have a zoom in with no zoom out. It's just like, what the fuck is going on? And you can create so many different variations of these effects. And to save these as your own presets, all you simply got to do is select the effects and head right up to animation, save animation preset, and then just name it whatever you want to. Like I said, you can create so many different variations of these effects. You can mix it with a bunch of other effects and get some cool looks. I'll show you a couple ones that I've made in my VFX Kit plugin, which includes over 150 effects and doesn't require any third-party plugins. So all you simply do with this plugin is you open up one of these tabs. We have road effects, shakes, transitions, grunge, hits, and so forth. So if I open up hits, you can see that we have previews of every single effect, just so you don't have to apply and then remove and then apply and remove just to see what fits your scene. So you just pick something you like. Here I have a zoom, here I have a bouncy hit, and I'm gonna add it here at the end. And then I'm gonna click U, make sure that my keyframes are lined up correctly, and they are. So I'll play through and see what it looks like. It's basically a hit, but it's just this bouncy version of it. Instead of having these kind of camera movements, instead I went for this bouncy look. And if I add the zoom out here at the end, it's going to look a lot better because they kind of match. So you can tell it's a sick twist to these kind of hit effects. But of course, that's not everything that we have in the VFX kit. We do have the basic hits all the way down here. We have horizontal hits, vertical hits, zoom outs, and just a bunch of sauce. Like I said, over 150 effects, so I'm sure that there's something for everyone inside of this plugin. I have a couple videos where I break down a lot of things inside this plugin if you want to know more about it, and I'll also leave the product link in the description so you can check it out for yourself. Now, if you do want to recreate these bouncy hits, I'll give you some of that sauce as well. The effects that I used was a minimax, exposure, hue saturation, a wave warp set to smooth noise, and a warp effect to get that kind of bouncy look, and then another wave warp, but this one has a higher wave width, so it's just a little bit wider, and then a zoom in at the end. And of course, I keyframed all of these values from 0, so we can have a normal start here at the start, and then towards the end, all of these values are bumped up. So if you want to recreate something like this, of course, go ahead and do that as well. You can also save these as your own presets like I mentioned before. But that's it for this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed. Like I said, VFX Kit is linked in the description. It's a sick plugin. Everyone loves it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.